Welcome to a CanAm Renegade D.E.S.S key not recognized situation. I figured that before I replace, it's best to probably take it out and see if it can be restored. As it turns out, you can get the key out through the front left fender on a 2013 CanAm Renegade, about, I think it's an 800R. And after you get the ignition out, it separates fairly easily, and you'll probably find inside that some moisture, water, mud has gotten in here. And just with a pretty good cleaning brush and some rubbing alcohol, you can clean the grit and the grease and the most likely oxidization that you're going to see in some green guts in there off of these contacts on the key tumbler here, as well as on the pin layout on the other half that you saw me cleaning up a little bit earlier. Just clean it all up, get some dielectric grease, and reassemble. And seems to solve the issue where when you put the key in the ignition, randomly, intermittently, the machine on the display will say D.E.S. key not recognized. It became more and more problematic as time went on. I'm using an eraser here to just try to take off any filming. So now that it's clean, you still want to clean up the contacts. The oxidization could have formed a thin layer on all the metal in there. So even though you got the green gone, you still want to get those contacts as clean as you can on the circuit board, as well as on the copper leads on the tumbler. But it's pretty simple, pretty easy little key switch here. It's $50 or $80 for a new one, which probably would have solved it. I don't think you need to replace this when you can restore it. And if you did choose to replace this, I don't think you have to do any reprogramming. But if you were to replace the key, I'm told you'd have to reprogram. So I figured for $50 and no reprogramming, if I destroyed the switch, I might as well rip it apart, clean it, and put it back together and see what happens. And I think you'll find at the end of the video that it cleaned up pretty good, and it functions pretty good after I cleaned it up. So hope this helps anybody else that's got an ignition issue with their Polaris CanAm D.E.S. key not recognized circumstance. After you reassemble it back the way you took it apart, take it back out to the machine, plug it in. Happy to report that it did clean up the symptom and the machine's ready to go. So customer should be happy. I'm pretty happy with it. Just remember to take your time and clean every little thing out of there, including the rubber gasket. The cleaner you can get the rubber gasket, put a little bit of dielectric grease on it too, the better it'll go back together, and hopefully keep the water out the next time you go riding. I'm pretty sure this one got bad when the whole machine was submerged at one point and just kind of left. So just regular wheeling, it probably doesn't happen. There is a trim panel in the front left fender well that kind of hides this. So you do have to use the pop rivets and remove that trim panel. But once you get that out of the way, the connector is pretty much right up by the shock, and then of course protrudes right up through the top of the fender. Plug it back in, stick it through the hole, put the little securing nut on the ignition tumbler, and put the key in, see how things go. In my case, it was successful. So looking forward to many more years with this machine being reliable instead of temperamental. I'm assuming there's some people that run into this on the trail after they've gotten pretty wet. Not a lot of tools required. Flathead screwdriver, as long as the tip is small enough, will help you get it apart. And you just got to have some rubbing alcohol and a little, utility brush. And then find some dielectric grease. I suppose if you're on the trail and you can't find dielectric grease, you can probably just put a little bit of mineral oil down in there and you'd be okay. Just enough to keep the gasket seated until you get back home. So hope this helped.